This is the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast with Dr. Julie Capel, episode number 282. Hey, veterinary friends, welcome to the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast. Today, I want to talk about change, and more specifically, change when our brain tells us that it's too late to change. And ironically, today I'm trying something different. I'm here by myself. I don't have a guest, but I thought I would try to record this podcast like I normally do, but also record on Zoom so I could have a video. I'm trying to get my YouTube channel more watched, more populated for you, and I've been working hard to get all my interviews out there. And now I thought it would be a good time to try doing my one-man podcast on Zoom. So it's kind of an experiment, so bear with me if I'm a little awkward. I'm trying to figure it out, but I thought it might be fun. So before we talk about the change that we're going to talk about today, I want to encourage you to visit my YouTube channel and subscribe and share my podcast episodes with your friends and family. I'm getting more and more videos out there produced for you, and it helps me to get the podcast seen and heard if you subscribe and share and comment and all the things. So whether you listen or whether you watch, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you listen on Apple or Spotify, leave a comment and let me know what you like and what you don't like. The other thing that I would love for you to do is reach out to me on social media. Let me know how I can help you. My mission with the Veterinary Life Coach is to help those that work in vet med live a happier life in all aspects. So anything you're struggling with, let me know, and I'll try to address those issues. Find me on my website at theveterinarylifecoach.com, or you can email me at jacapeldvm@gmail.com. I will be forever grateful if you help me and our wonderful profession. We're all in this together. And I just worked on Friday in my clinic, and it was loads of fun. I visited with a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while, saw some baby possums, had to draw blood on a starling. So that was interesting, but just lots of things. And so I'm right there with you in the clinic, experiencing all these things. And with what I do with the Veterinary Life Coach, I am here to help you. So also thanks to those of you that have already reached out to me. I love that. Keep the suggestions coming. I love having you on my Veterinary Life Coach team. Okay, so let's get started talking about making a change. Many of you are younger than I, so you may have the attitude that you have plenty of time to accomplish your goals and live your dreams. That was always my attitude. But I want to offer you a thought that you might want to start living your dreams and working towards your goals starting now, starting today. Procrastination feels better than the discomfort of working to accomplish something, but discomfort is what it takes to make it to your goals and to your dreams and change your life. I don't want this to be a downer podcast or sound like one of those old folks that tells you that your life will fly by. But as someone that's been working for over 30 years in this profession, and I've lived many of my dreams, I can tell you that the years pass by quickly, and they pass by whether you live your dreams or not. So there you go. I sound like an old person, and I kind of am an old person, but I do have the experience to help you work to live better. So some of you know my story. I dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, owning my own practice, and having a successful family. And I was able to do all of those things, mostly because I've always believed that you have to go after what you want with as much gusto as you have. But I had this one dream that I never considered possible, and that was of writing and becoming an author. And some of you, like I said, know that part of my story. And one of the main reasons that I got into life coaching and discovered life coaching is that I was feeling as if I needed to do something more with my life. And I was stuck in my thoughts about writing. And discovering life coaching and getting coached through my limiting thoughts and my limiting beliefs helped me to begin writing and eventually to get the book done. I started with the blog and then eventually got that book going. And that was a dream that I had never expected to come true. So, all of that to say that I want to encourage you with this discussion on this podcast to change your mindset, do something about anything that you want to do, and then get going to actually do the thing that it's going to take to get the thing that you want. It's really never too late to make a change. It drives me crazy sometimes, but it also gets me excited when I hear someone that comes to me for coaching say that it's too late for them to change. They're stuck. It's too late to get married. It's too late to have a family. It's too late to lose weight. They've always been heavy. It's too late to start a business, change to a different job. The reason it drives me crazy is that I know they're suffering unnecessarily with self-doubt. And the reason it gets me excited is that I know how to fix that. I know how to help them change their mindset and help them plan the steps it'll take to get what they want. We have such an easy time believing that we're inadequate, that life is what it is, that we don't have the skills, that we're unlucky or unprivileged. We think we don't have enough money. There's no time to do anything special. Those thoughts are the things that make us feel helpless and not capable of change. And the reason that is our brain is wired to keep us from taking risks. Our brain is wired to keep us safe from harm. And I know if you've listened, you know that you've heard this before, but change and big goals feel scary to our brain. It's that motivational triad, that position of our brain that likes to avoid pain, seek pleasure, and conserve energy. Our brain is basically lazy and it's trying to protect us from anything that pushes us. So it's really not your fault that you believe the negative things that your brain tells you, that you believe you can't do what you want to do. You've just not mastered the skill of overcoming that primitive brain, that part of your brain that tries to keep you from risk taking. So here are the facts. Life is short and goes by fast. We never really know how long we have left. And here I go being a little bit kind of negative again, but we don't know how long we have on this earth. We always never know what will happen in the world, like COVID, for instance. Who would have ever thought that we would miss years of our life, years of travel, friends and family? I remember flying to New York during COVID and the plane was almost empty. And when have you flown on a plane that was empty? But during COVID, it was. And the reason that I flew to New York, and I think it was in July or August of 2020, was because I didn't want to miss out on visiting my son, because I just had this thought that COVID wasn't going to scare me enough to keep me from my kids. And it was a really weird time, right? But who knows when something like that's going to happen again. So even more of a reason for us to get started now. Anyway, my point is we just don't know. So then my question is, what are we waiting for? One of the problems with delaying our goals and dreams by saying, one of the problems with delaying our goals and dreams by saying that it's never too late is that we might hesitate to act. So on one hand, we can say it's never too late, But if that keeps us from acting, then that's a problem. But I like us to know that it's never too late. So if you're older, if you think that something has passed you by, it's not. So we just need to not use that expression as a crutch to keep us from doing something and keep us from procrastinating. So if we're procrastinating, we may make our goals more difficult to achieve. For example, if you want to build a business, or if you want to make or save $1 million, starting to save and make money now when you're, let's say, 35 is way better than starting when you're 65. You can still do it at 65. You can still start to save, and I would encourage you to do so, but you might have to work a little bit harder to get what you want, harder and faster than you would have if you would have started when you were 35, right? So it's never too late is true, but maybe starting now is better. All our goals are a battle, but starting the battle now rather than later is usually a better plan. So here's a great question to get you started to thinking about changing your life. If you wake up in 10 or 20 years and that has passed by, so let's pretend that it's 10 years from now or 20 years from now, depending on how old you are, what would you regret not doing? Imagine yourself in that position. You're now 20 years older. What didn't you do? What did you miss out on? And that's how you start thinking about what you want out of your life. I read something while I was researching this podcast, and it was an article by Anthony Jung. I'm not exactly how sure to say his last name, but he said something that I found really interesting. And it was, while there's technically no such thing as too late, there sure as hell is such a thing as waiting too long. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way to say it, right? It's never too late, but you sometimes might wait too long. So the point is, maybe we should start right now, right? So let's talk about why we should make some changes, and then how do we get started at making those changes? So the first is why. Why do we want to make changes? If you want something, you have to work to get it. Most of the time, things just aren't thrown in front of us or laid before us, right? We have to work. And that goes for almost anything in life. If you want physical health, it takes work. If you want children, they're definitely work, whether they're babies or toddlers or teenagers or adults. Better mental health, work. A new job, work to find it, right? Starting a business, lots of work, because I've started a couple of them and I know it takes work. You have to set goals to accomplish the things and affect change. And if you push yourself towards change, you will then start to feel anxious. But if you don't work to accomplish your goals, then you'll certainly feel anxious because you haven't gotten anything done or you don't have the life that you want. So you can decide to feel anxious and work towards a better life, or feel anxious because you're not working. And that's really interesting, right? So the trick is, can we push ourselves towards change? Can we set some goals? Can we dream, feel a little bit of anxiety, and then start to work towards those goals and dreams? And it will alleviate some of your anxiety as you're working, as long as you're not using your goals and dreams to push yourself too hard, because there's something to that, right? I have that tendency to be like, okay, I have all these things to do and I have this big to-do list. And so then I'm just anxious all the time. And that's not what we want. We don't want anxiety to run us, but we also don't want anxiety to stop us. So we have to create this balance, right? Between what we want in our life, how we're going to work to get it, how we're going to make changes, and then dealing with the negative emotion that comes up while we're trying to do that, right? So there's one reason that we don't want to change, and that would be if our attempt to change turns into pressure. And there's a difference between getting what we want and pressuring ourselves to get what we want, if that makes sense. So you want to be motivated by getting to your goals and your dreams without creating that unhealthy pressure. So let's assume that we can balance that, and you can. You may need help. You may need someone to coach you. You may need to go into therapy if it's really a struggle for you, and that's all okay. But getting the things that we want out of life takes work, and that's really what I want to share with you today. You can do it. You may need help if it starts to feel too hard, and that's okay. So use this podcast to help you get started. So the first step to get started to work towards any change is to notice your excuses. And we all have them, right? That primitive brain is going to come up with every reason in the book that you don't want to work towards change. And a lot of those excuses will sound like this. I don't have time. But for real, we all have 24 hours. And that's just our guideline. 24 hours in our day. So when your brain says, I don't have time, notice that. It's not true. Another one that I think a lot, because I am older, is I'm too old to start. Nope, that's not true. Age is just a number, and we're going to get older regardless, whether we live our dreams or not. So if your brain says I'm too old for whatever the goal is, just say no to that brain of yours and get started anyway. Another excuse you'll notice is I don't have the money to do that. And that one's a hard one, right? Because sometimes that's factual, that you can't quit your job because you have loans to pay back or something like that. But it's still kind of a lie, because there are many, many ways that you can start working towards your dreams while still paying off your debt. And there's better ways to think about your money and save money to really do anything that you want in your life. Another excuse that you'll notice is, I really don't know what I want. I can't figure it out. And that was one that I indulged in a lot, because I was like, okay, I've lived many, many of my dreams. I became a veterinarian, which was one of my dreams. I ran a hospital. I had my kids. I raised my kids. I had a home. I had a lot of the things that I had always wanted, but I still knew there was more. And so getting out of that mindset that I don't know what I want is where you get help. You get a coach. They can try to help you figure out what you want. And that's what happened to me. I started researching. I started looking into it. I hired a coach. What do I want to do next? And that's what kind of cracked open the writing bug. Is I'm like, oh, well, I've always wanted to write, but my brain told me it was impossible. So just because your brain says, I don't know, don't listen to it, because we can figure that out. Another excuse that you'll hear from your brain is, I'm no good at that, or I'm not good at that. Maybe you're not good at exercise. Maybe you're not good at weight loss. Maybe you're not good at dieting, which, none of us is good at dieting. We don't want to do that. But we can learn to eat better. We can lose weight. We can become healthier. And we can practice for whatever it is that we're not good at. So if you've always wanted to sing and you're not a good singer, there's plenty of people out there that can help you sing. My daughter gives voice lessons, so I can hook you up. But just remember that if your brain tells you you're not good at it, but you really have always had a dream to do it, don't listen to that primitive brain of yours. It's just scared. It's scared that when you do go to sing, that you're going to be embarrassed, or you're going to sing a wrong note, or somebody's going to laugh at you. When I first started telling people I wanted to become a life coach, they almost kind of snicker because they don't know what that means. And I really wanted to do it. So ignore what your brain says, ignore what other people say, and just push forward anyway. And then the last excuse that you'll hear, and there's probably many, many more, but these are the ones I came up with, is that your brain will say, well, I have trauma. I've had bad experiences. I have a crazy family. I have people in my life that are going to judge me, and blah, 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 right? All these excuses that your brain's going to give you. That's your Chihuahua brain. Those are the Chihuahua brain excuses that will be there whether you're working towards your dreams or not. So don't listen to them. You can do it anyway. Okay, so now once we've dealt with all those excuses, I want you to be okay with that. And now, how do we start making changes? Start by creating an abundance mindset. And we've talked about this before on the podcast. So if you don't recall, go find one of those podcasts on abundance mindset or the can-do attitude, right? Start with that mindset. You have enough. You've got enough time. You've got enough money. You've got enough talent. You've got enough ability. You've got all those things to do anything. Focus on being grateful for where you are now and all that you have. And then start to plan for your future. That's abundance mindset. Abundance mindset just means that you understand that you're unlimited. That's abundance. You have what you need now to work to get what you want. That's all that means, is that you understand that you're not stuck. And then another thing is to be more self-aware. What do you do when you feel fear of change? What's your body do? Mine will procrastinate or deflect. I'll get busy with other things when I'm scared to do something. I'll be like, well, I'm really afraid to write, so I'm just going to clean my house. Or I'm going to go play pickleball or go for a bike ride because I know how to do those things. Those don't scare me, but sometimes writing scares me. Sometimes podcasting scares me. And so I'll procrastinate. So understand what you do. Do you make excuses? Do you procrastinate? Do you feel anxiety? Are you scared? Do you feel fear? Do you get nervous? Do you have a habit that's standing in your way? Like, do you overeat? Do you overdrink? Do you, I don't know, sleep too much? There's lots of things. And then another one that I do when I'm not feeling great about myself is I people please. I commit to everything. I say, oh, I can do that. I can do that. Oh, you want to work? Sure, I'll do that. You want to do some relief work here? Do you want to volunteer there? Yep, 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 yep. I'll just say yes. That is part of my defense mechanism because it helps me to avoid doing the things I have to do that are uncomfortable. So all these things will get in your way of achieving your goals. So just be aware. Now, the next step is to define what you want and why you want it. And the best way that I know to do this, the best way that I've found, is to write down all the things that you've always wanted to do since you were a kid. Before you felt limited, sit down, take some time to think and take some time to dream. And your brain will try to limit you, but just ignore it. Write down the wildest things that you can think of, and that will get you started. Make kind of a vision board, but with words. And if the words aren't coming, then go to Pinterest and start looking at pictures and pick out the ones that speak to your childlike brain. Oh, that would be really cool to do. You know, I made a vision board and I got pictures of like Alaska because I want to go on an Alaska cruise. That's one of my things that I want to do in the next few years. So just ignore the limiting beliefs and start to dream and see what you come up with. And it might be a struggle at first, you know, that's a hard exercise to do if you've never done it before. But don't shame yourself. Just, you know, write down what you do, set the timer for 10 minutes. And if you're feeling too stressed about it and nothing's coming to your brain, just take a break, walk away, go outside, take a few breaths, you know, spin in the sun or roll around in the grass or whatever loosens up your brain, and then come back to it and write another list and another list and another list until it starts to look really crazy, right? If there's things on there like, you know, I wrote, I want to write a book, that's a crazy thought for me, right? Or it was until I unlimited myself. But if it feels weird or it feels scary, then that means you're on the right track. And then once you get that written, you can also think about your why. Why do you want these things? What is your why in life? What do you want your life to look like? And why do you want it to look like that? What are your values, the core values that you're trying to create for yourself? Do you want to change your life? Do you want to change your work? And why? What do you do in your life and your work that you love? And what do you want to change? Do you want more free time? Do you want more family time? Do you want to live somewhere different? Right now I'm kind of struggling with where I live. Do I want to live in a different home or a different city? Do you want to travel? Have you been afraid to travel in the past and now you want to travel more and you need to unlock that? Showing up for your change means staying true to yourself. And if you don't know who you are or why you are, we need to work on that first. So if this really sounds scary, it's supposed to. Like this is something that really challenges your Chihuahua brain, really pushes you out of your comfort zone. This change for change's sake and setting goals for goals' sake is kind of scary. So once you've done all those things, then the next step is to just start doing it, right? Start on something, anything. You have to be true to yourself and your wants and your needs, and then prioritize these goals and dreams, and then just break them down into small steps so you can get started. The trick to change and to accomplishment is to work towards something, anything. As you're working towards one goal, even if you're not sure that it's the right one at first, if you're like, well, this one sounds good, but I'm not 100% sure, things will pop up while you're working towards that goal that will help you to change course. A thought will come to you, something will happen, you'll learn something about what you're pursuing. Even looking for a new job, sometimes it'll pop up and you'll be like, oh, that's interesting. I've never thought of that. But at least you're moving. So just getting started is part of the deal, right? So just little changes, like for instance, if it's a money thing, if you just save $10 a week and invest it, it'll add up to big money in 20 years. But you have to just start doing that. So if you have a money goal, work on the money goal. If you have a money goal and a travel goal because you need money to travel, then start planning the travel in the most inexpensive way you can while you're saving the money to get there. So it might be a 2-year goal. I'm going to save for the next 2 years to go on a trip, right? Sometimes you have to combine your goals. And remember that it's never too late. And that's why this podcast came up to me. It's never too late to change anything in your life. Your age, your kids, your job, your health status, your past experiences can't hold you back if you want to do something. I know what I'm talking about when I say this because I wrote my first book and I wrote my first blogs just in the past few years of my life. And I am well beyond my 30s. You all know this. So your life will march on no matter what you do with it. So you might as well do the things that you dream of doing now. You have control of all of it, even if your brain tells you that it's impossible. These could be impossible goals. Okay, now I have some quotes for you wrapped around this podcast. And one of them is, these names are going to be hard for me, Akina Shaloff. And her blog said, time is always passing. And just because you can do it later doesn't mean you should do it later. And I like that because it's really true, right? I can do anything tomorrow, but should I? Maybe I should start today, getting healthier, trying to work towards my goals, right? Okay, the next quote is from Aaron Levy, and it says, success is a delicate balance of having ease, but also having earnestness. It comes from realizing that life is both long and short at the same time. And that one's great, right? It is. It's long and short. And I'll tell you that when I was raising my kids, it felt like it was a forever thing every day. Like the days felt really long, but then the years went by really fast. It's just an interesting phenomenon. So if someone tells you that as an old person, and I hate to sound that way, just kind of believe them. My grandparents told me that. My parents told me that. And sometimes you don't believe them, but it's really, really true. And on some level, when I was young, I did believe it. And that's why I was kind of pushing myself to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. Okay, my friends, this is my homework for you this week. My homework for you is to just start something new. Make a goal towards a change. Doesn't have to be big, just something that feels a little tiny bit challenging. And then let me know what you decided to do and what you began to do about it. What are your action steps? What are you vowing to do? And I will help hold you accountable, because this is a key, right? Sometimes our brain is so powerful that we need an outside person to help us. And I'm always willing to help you either by doing a free coaching with you or by coaching you over email. So if you're afraid to talk to me in person, I'm not a scary person, I promise. But if that's a little scary for you, make a goal to send me an email. Super simple, right? Or follow me on social media or reach out to me on my website, something like that. Just take some sort of action step towards something that scares you, something that you want to change. Don't sit it out. Get off your butt and start moving. Plan an adventure. Start now, as soon as you stop listening to this podcast. Just do it. Like Nike says, right? Do something. Do it. And have a beautiful week, my friends. Bye.